Here we go.
All right.
Do we call it Digital Dan? What do we call it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I mean,
Why
it's
not?
kind of sticky. Did we ever come up with anything else? Oh, we did talk about the HighBeam podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite as snappy.
Yeah.
But less embarrassing.
Less embarrassing. It's the HighBeam the HighBeam the HighBeam podcast with Digital Dan.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, there you go. There you go.
Perfect. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am so excited to kick off our first official episode of the HighBeam podcast with what we're calling Digital Dan.
There you go.
This is super exciting. So,
can you see me turning red?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're recording
exactly.
on video.
Okay, perfect. So as we kind of start jumping in, let's first just do a brief introduction to who is Dan. Okay, so give us a little bit of who's this Digital Dan guy.
Okay, I'll give you my professional background because everything else just seems embarrassing. But
Love it.
I have been in IT for, let's just for fun say 35 plus years, so I don't have to say the actual number. And I've really been able to do pretty much everything there is to do in IT, from development to operations to infrastructure, frontline support, and then probably the last 15 to 20 years I've been in executive leadership, which I've always really enjoyed. And then off and on through that career has been consulting. So now I'm senior consultant and practice lead for integrated strategy and advising for Future Point of View, which is a great landing zone for me at my age. I think this is perfect. I love. My favorite part is getting in front of clients and just having a conversation about where they're trying to go with their digital strategy. What is going to be that digital edge, or what we like to call the digital halo, that can really set people apart and be more competitive in whatever their market is, whatever their industry is. So that's it in a nutshell.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's really cool too because just getting to know you in a professional sense, it's been really fun to see almost your adaptability to change and the fact that you really are kind of in your calling whenever you think about getting into different organizations and different businesses and taking the time to learn the groundwork, but then also being willing to play around and kind of adopt change a lot faster and help companies do that too. So it is pretty cool, and I can attest to the fact that you really do love where you are and you're really good at what you do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, people say, well, I was doing a presentation for a large group in, I think it's Seattle. And afterwards, someone said, a younger person came, I want to do exactly what you do. How do you do that? I'm like, it's simple. Just get 30 years of experience and you're pretty much good to go after that. Because I've kind of seen it all, in IT. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it kind of is what I run into.
Yeah.
So
I could absolutely see that. Well, I'm excited. Today we have a great kind of topic that we're going to be talking about, and I want to dive right in because I feel like we will go all over the board with this. So we'll be talking about AI and the impacts that it's going to have on the job market, the workforce, the future of business. I mean, all sorts of things. So I feel like, first of all, AI is a hot topic right now.
Yes,
so
obviously.
Let's kind of dive into
like hot topic in the last 2 months. It's gotten hotter.
2023, it's like the topic to kind of have your eye on for businesses.
Yeah.
So let's dive into a little bit of where do you see, and what is your HighBeam vision, if you will, of where do you see AI going? Where do you see the future of business going, just in a high level sense?
Sure, and I get asked this a lot now, a lot more than I used to. So if I'm doing a presentation or I'm in a company doing some consulting work, I get asked this a lot because people are becoming concerned about it and about their jobs, because now they see with the new AI products that are out there that they see where the risk is for them. For the first time, I think. It's been out there for a while, but now they're really seeing how this could impact their jobs specifically. So I think in the shorter term, people will and need to have a deeper understanding of AI. And I would be looking at how specifically will it impact my job. That's what I would be researching. I wouldn't be worried about the mechanics right now. I would just be looking deeply into, okay, from what I do and where I want my career to go, what's the AI influence on that? How's that going to impact where I want to end up in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen quickly. It already is. So I think that it will, in a way, happen suddenly in some respects, but the decline will be gradual over time, right? So you'll see an impact right away, but then how that affects your job, will you lose your job next month, month after? Probably not. But you can see that role changing, and it may end up as an exit. and even an exit from your career.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to really plan ahead for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years about where do you think that's going to end up with what I'd like to do and want to do in my career.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you talk about kind of the fear that's behind AI
Mm-hmm.
and kind of is this, maybe potentially where my career does end? Is this kind of the changing ground for me,
Yeah.
And while it is such a fertile ground for people and the possibilities are endless, how do you feel like people should be preparing for the changes that come with AI? What's kind of the mentality that people need to have to really thrive in this new digital environment?
Yeah, I would say with AI right now, and it's broad. When we say AI,
Super broad.
all sorts of things that evolve around that. But I think it's got to embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of that fear right now because you don't understand. It's anything you don't really understand, you're afraid. It's just a human trait. It's not that big a deal. It's just a human trait. So the way to circumvent that is to really embrace AI and understand it and know what all these new things that are coming out like ChatGPT. We can't go too far without mentioning that.
Yeah.
And understanding what that is and how that works and playing around with it and taking a deep dive. Because what will happen is if you're just afraid of it and you're putting it in the corner and just putting it off and, well, it doesn't affect me this week, so I'm not going to worry about it. But learn to embrace it and then use it as a tool and be the leader in your organization for really understanding it and applying it and telling people how you're applying it and be that thought leader and using it instead of being fearful of it and trying to avoid it and push it away. Embrace it, encompass it, figure out ways to use it and what you do for a living, and then promote that through the organization. Hey, here's what I did. Here's how it worked. Right? Yeah. Here's the benefit from it. Here's the downside. Here's how it didn't work. And so if you can be a thought leader, I think that helps because someone will say, hey, so-and-so knows a lot about AI. We need to go to them and figure out how we can use that tool in whatever in the organization. So I think it's really important to understand at a deeper level and start to use it as a tool.
Yeah. It's interesting too because when you think about future point of view as a place to work is so determined on if you don't know about something and you're unsure of it or something that you use every day, question it, think about it, question it, and really kind of ask yourself, what is this? And it was funny to me because before we started recording, you were talking about ChatGPT and we were talking about that a little bit back and forth. And you said most people don't even know what ChatGPT stands for.
Generative Pre-Training Transformer.
There you go. See, and it's interesting because you do think about so often we just go about our everyday lives and just kind of go with the flow of, yes, I'm going to use this, or maybe I'll kind of look into it, or yes, I've heard of it. But do you really take the time to look and invest some time to understand what it is that we're talking about, what it is that we're using, and where's that's going to take your company? And it is important, I think, for leaders to kind of take that step back and think about it and be willing to adopt the change and not be scared of it, kind of adapt to it. But I think, too, the side of the way that jobs and roles will change is so huge. So we've talked a little bit before about marketing and how that will be a huge one that we'll see impact on. But what do you think are a few of the key industries or just organizational job roles that we'll see an impact on with AI?
Well, the easy one is, they say repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
So anything that you do that's repetitive, okay, I get it. Manufacturing, assembly line work, robots, AI, all that. But that's been known for a while. And I think we're a bit beyond that now. I would think, too, that things that people may be just starting to think about is the creative aspect. So in your line of work, it takes a lot of creativity. You're generating blogs, you're thinking outside the box graphically or verbally or whatever. And I think now we see with generative AI tools that can replace some of what you do, or hopefully, if you look at it differently, supplement what you do. So have you used ChatGPT?
Yes, yeah, okay. I love it, and I have used it for different blog posts. I've used it for different captions. So being able to type in a prompt and say, here's what I'm needing a caption for, which seems so simple and so small, but whenever you're having to do that every single day, it can start to take up some time to try and be creative with it. So to have another resource to use and have it be, something that might be outside of just what I would typically say or be repetitive about is really nice. I think, too, we should take a minute and use ChatGPT and do some rapid fire icebreakers.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm going to type in icebreakers, rapid fire, on ChatGPT, and I'm going to pick 5 for you to answer, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. What's your favorite holiday destination?
holiday destination.
Yes.
Uh, I would say that we have a big family,
Hmm.
and my favorite destination is at our house. I know that sounds weird, but my wife, big Italian family, and so we have had Christmas and Thanksgiving at our house for the last 25 years, and probably about 30 to 40 people,
Hmm.
is our immediate family gathering. And it's hard and can be frustrating sometimes, but I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Right.
I just love it. It's great. And so, yeah, it sounds kind of corny, but
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, it's at home with 40 people going crazy.
That's
Total
great.
chaos. Yeah.
Okay, a few more. What's your favorite animal?
Wolf.
A wolf.
Actually, I was going to go into zoology
Really?
and study wolves. That's
Interesting.
pre-college, as a teenager. But that's really, I had a really fascination around.
That was the dream before the dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, I
That's
like
great.
that,
Yeah. Okay, favorite type of sport to watch?
That's good. It's probably a cross between football and football. So American football, obviously, at the top of the list, and then soccer. Kind of a soccer family. So that's my second.
Perfect. Okay, last one. Favorite type of weather?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago.
Okay.
So in Chicago as a kid, heavy snow was great. Skiing, snowboarding, loved it. But as I've gotten older, I've definitely become a fair weather person.
Yeah.
So I would have to say that going further south for the winter is my sweet spot.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. Yeah. I like it to be a little bit warmer.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I think that's kind of a good example of ChatGPT to be able to see how quick it works, first of all, which is kind of incredible. But little things like that, those little tasks, coming up with an icebreaker for your meeting.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, and I think that it's prompt, right? If you haven't used it, it's like Google. You just get a box to type something into, and the more natural language you use, actually, the better it works. So you don't want to try to figure out how it thinks. You just want to word it like how you would actually ask another human question, and you get better results that way. But more than Google, because you kind of understand how Google works, it's a little more important to understand how ChatGPT works. So recently, I hate this engine's called Chat, but has read 10 billion documents.
Crazy.
So will AI be better than humans? Well, there's a component on this. It's called pre-training. So what it's doing is reading all this information. 10 billion documents, 175 billion parameters is built into it, that it builds itself. That's not more than I could do. I'll read 4 documents. So it's maybe not interpreting it any better than I would, but it just knows more, can read a lot more than I can, obviously a lot faster than I can read it.
Yeah.
So it's taking that, and then someone is training it. So it's only going to be good as the training environment that it's in. So it reads all these, it's asked questions by humans, the humans correct and adjust, and then the AI algorithm learns off of that training. So if there's bias in the documents it's reading or bias in the training, that bias is going to come through just like humans. So people think, AI needs to get like at the human level of thinking. Yeah, pros and cons to that. So there's an upside and a downside to that. So I think you have to be really aware of that. The other part too is that when you type in things like you typed in, or you say, hey, I need a blog, I need a snippet of code, which it's really good at, by the way. And if you're a developer, you need to use it and look at that code and see how good it is, and really consider how you're going to use it and how it's going to impact your job. So just a shout out to developers to do that, because it's amazing. It's been years since I developed, and I asked it to write a snippet of code. Looked pretty darn good. So
That's awesome.
Be aware of that. But when I've had it, hey, write this for me, it's a bit superficial, but it's so much easier to start with that than a blank page.
Absolutely.
So now I got something I can tweak. I can add my flavor to it. I can work with it. So it's sort of like a co-writer to get started on stuff, and then I add to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which is great. I feel like too, I have used ChatGPT to do templates and outlines, so that way it gives me that starting point that you're talking about, which is awesome. Okay, something that I think is really important for us to talk about is the creation of new job opportunities within the workforce due to ChatGPT, and even the skill set that it will kind of open up, but also
Sure.
change for people right now. So where do you see the future of different job opportunities going?
Hmm.
And how do you see the changes in skill sets that will most likely kind of have to happen and evolve?
Yeah, yeah. So here's one for you today.
Okay.
You can do this right now, and I think it's the biggest component of AI uh, right now, and that is automation.
Mhm.
So we're talking about business process automation, and that's been around obviously forever. I've done a lot of that work myself, is looking at business process. So whether it's a process you do, or across team process, or across department, or across organizational process, where you play a role in that, most of those are ripe for automation. I think businesses are trending about 15 to 20% of automation, and that needs to get up to 50 to 60% of automation. And in any automation, any process that you look at, you have to figure out what's the human element and what's the technology element. What can be done by human, what can be done by technology, and here at FPOV we call it humology,
Yep.
which is a scale. And not everything is 100% technology, not everything is 100% human, but we like to see it trending more towards the technology side because that's where the efficiencies come in and the competitive edge. So I would start looking at what do you do day to day that you got, I got a whatever, XYZ, that you could automate. And there are a lot of tools out there that you may already have in your organization that you can start using. Power BI for Microsoft is now part of Office 365. So you probably already have Power Automate, and you can start using that tool. It's pretty straightforward. It's click and drag. UiPath is probably the leader in process automation, and they're building more and more AI capabilities into these products. So you don't have to know a lot, but you have to know how to look at a process and enhance it, because first you want to optimize it, then you want to figure out how to automate it. And this can be as simple, if you don't want to use those tools, you want to start even more simply, and that is go into Outlook, right, and write some, Outlook's pretty good. You can write some things, hey, if you see something coming in from this person, put it here, or do an automatic reply, or put a file somewhere in a folder. It's pretty good way to get started looking at how to automate process. But process automation is happening today, and I think it's going to really increase. You're going to see AI apply to that more frequently, and that's where I would start, because everyone does process.
Right.
And then once you do one for yourself, say, hey, the team does it this way. Maybe I could write something around that. And then it's interdepartmental, and before you know, you're the process automation person in the organization. Yeah, you're leading the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think too, we were talking a little bit about this yesterday internally in the office, but there's now different AIs that are coming out that can build slideshows and presentation decks and things like that. And you think about all those, not mundane, because building a presentation is a huge part, especially of what we do around here, but you think about sometimes how time consuming it can be. And if you could have that jump start that we were talking about, it's incredible then how you can actually invest purposeful minutes in editing, making revisions, making it better, and really seeing, probably a better outcome than what you would have started with.
Oh yeah, for sure. FPOV has the Citizen Automation Specialist Program, CASP, which is getting a lot of traction, and that's
crazy.
Decentralizing IT by putting some of that power to automate processes into the hands of the functional worker. And two sides to that. One is this great course. I mean, you can come out of that and you can start doing some automation. The other end of that is that you can see some of the creative parts of the PowerPoints that we deliver that are created by generative AI. And they are amazing looking slide decks. If you want to see a slide deck that is really pushing the envelope, look at some of our slide decks that we've produced using generative AI. I mean, they're pretty amazing, pretty eye-catching.
Yeah.
So, check out our CASP program, and you'll get to see some forward thinking in this space. It's pretty amazing. That's what we do, right? Future point of view, right? So we're always 1 foot in the future.
It's in the name.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Which is perfect. Yeah. Well, okay, so what are some of the main takeaways that you would want a C-suite level executive, high-level executives to really think about and consider when talking about the future of their workplace, of their roles, of their positions with automation or artificial intelligence being used? We've talked a little bit about the automation side, but how do you see, high-level executives being able to utilize these resources within their organizations to their advantage?
Well, I think it starts at the top. It's got to be top down. I think CEOs in the past have delegated a lot of this thinking and thought leadership to the CIO.
Yeah.
it's got to start at the business side. It has to be in the C-suite of all the executive leadership levels thinking about the impact of AI. And I would look at it as a leader as how can we make this into a competitive advantage? Because those organizations that really adopt it and embrace it at the top level are going to be the ones that have a significant edge in the near future. So for a CEO to say, oh yeah, hey, IT, what are we going to do with AI, come up with strategy? And this is where I fall, right? And I'm doing this for organizations right now, is helping them develop a digital strategy roadmap that part of that focus is on AI thought leadership. Yeah. And so for the CEO, what I call them is kind of the CEO with CIO thinking. Really needs to start embracing that and really looking at it from a business perspective. And they don't need to understand the mechanics of AI, obviously, but they have to really promote and delegate and reward people in the organization that are really embracing AI and having people really make an effort to use it, and then bring that back and show the organization how they're adopting it and using it in their area. And then I think that's a snowball effect throughout the organization, and you really can see it spread pretty quickly. So it's top down in thought and idea and promotion and support, but then you want it happening pretty much at the functional level throughout the whole organization. So sort of starting at the top and starting, at the functional users, and then that kind of meeting in the middle.
Yeah. What do you say to the leaders within organizations that are like, oh, well, I don't really think this applies to me. I don't really think I need to be worried about it. Like, surely my company doesn't really need to adopt this just yet. The ones that aren't necessarily maybe the early adopters, as we call them. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I would say you're already behind.
Yeah.
You are already 6 months to a year behind. You just don't know it yet. And you're going to all of a sudden see it one day and then say, what happened? So I've had the great reward of working in a couple of industries that were on the death spiral. One was the newspaper industry, and it was a matter of they just missed the boat. They didn't see it coming. They didn't see the impact of simple things like Google and the web and news feeds, how that's going to replace what they do. And they scrambled and lost. Now, there's always going to be publications of record in the world. And the big publications, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, they'll be around. It's the local state newspapers that really are suffering. It's just they missed the boat. They didn't see it coming. And then boom, overnight, almost. And I was there to experience it. And so you don't want to be that. You don't want to be those people. So it's really looking at where you're at now, how far behind you are, what the capabilities are. Have someone come in and show you the possibilities. And then you can assess what you need to do moving forward and come up with a strategy. At least having a strategy, even if it's out, you know what the strategy is, you know where your gaps are, you know where you're behind. At least knowing that is better than a lot of other organizations are. So even by doing that, you're going to be ahead of the game a little bit.
That's so true. Well, what are some different roles or different positions that you think are most immediately at risk, if you will, whenever you think about AI coming so heavily into effect and being such a hot trending topic right now? What do you think are some of the roles and the positions that you see to really take a change?
Yeah, I think we talked a bit about marketing. So you come up with campaigns, target audiences. You do a lot of work on analytics, figuring out, hey, who should we target? What's the demographic? What are the personas? Those things can all be generated by AI, because what you're doing is you're reading all this information, you're gathering this, and you're making an assessment on, okay, where should we target that? Well, what if you gave those sources to an AI engine, and it said, here are your personas, it looks like. From what I see, here's how the data's divided up, and here's how it's trending as far as how they consume information and make decisions. Right? You can look into that, and then it can come up with a plan for you. So all of a sudden you go, wow, it took me a couple days or a week to do that, and boom, AI just spit it out. So even though, I'm safe, marketing is creative, I do this, I do that, and it's kind of all over the place. Yeah, it seems like that to you. It doesn't seem like that to an AI engine.
Midjourney, you think about Midjourney creating graphics and being able to do things that are so high level. They're full on photographs that are being created, and they look like they're taken by a camera, and they're all generated through an AI. It's crazy. And I've been able to dabble around a little bit within that, but it kind of goes back to the skill set change and knowing that if I'm not adapting and kind of adopting these different qualities and these skill sets, well, I'm kind of putting myself at a disadvantage, and also kind of, helping to apply this almost dying field of, what does marketing look like in the future? You have to be able to kind of, go along and kind of roll with the punches a little bit, play around with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that you kind of take it as a fun side thing. This doesn't need to be something that wrecks your life, but start and just have fun in it.
Yeah, just
see
start
what
playing
it looks
around.
like. Yeah.
Well, you can see there's already pushback from the creative industry. And that's always a great litmus test for emerging technology that's going to have a huge impact. And that's if a sector starts complaining about it. So, it's always that Shakespeare quote, methinks the lady doth protest too much, because they're raising that awareness of that concern because they know that their livelihood is at risk.
Yeah.
And so it's painful, and I totally understand that. It'd be painful for me. But you got to look at it and say, okay, why are they complaining so much? Because they really understand the impact. So those are the people to listen to see, okay, how realistic is all this? Well, right now they're saying, as an artist, we need controls. You need to protect that's a sign. It's definitely a sign that you need to really think about what's happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and some of the other things just quickly, anything, again, repetitive. If I was a court stenographer,
right,
I'd be worried. If I was in a law firm and I'm the one that does research, I'd be concerned. Right. So, and I can keep going down the list, but those kinds of tasks, and I'm a researcher, but I compile, pull all the information together, and then I kind of organize it so I can make decisions on it. I think all that's at risk. Data analytics is a big thing now, because this is all based on data. So data analytics is this huge thing, was this huge thing, but now you have not only data analytics, which are important and foundation to AI, but now you got an engine that can do the interpretation for you.
Yeah.
Where you did the analytics and you had to look at the charts and go, okay, what's it telling me? Now there's something in between you and the analytics that says, okay, here's what you need to do. So think of it in those terms and what you do for a living.
Yeah. Well, and let's think about too, different places or different job positions that are like manufacturing and assembly line work, transportation and logistics, customer service and telemarketing, retail and sales, banking and finance. All of these things deal with data so heavily and deal with different logistics that really can be automated. And so what would be your advice if you're in one of these positions and you start to feel like, is my job at risk or, kind of being threatened in a way?
Yeah. What
are the best steps to take so that way you feel like you're leveraging yourself to really not feel a heavy impact?
Yeah. And the most powerful tool for humans still is knowledge. So I would start looking at first of all, like we talked about before, how can you embrace it? How can you be the thought leader? But you may run out of runway doing that. But you can still play that role today. You can really understand it and figure out ways to use it and be ahead of the game. And, this sounds weird, but work yourself out of a job, because if you are the leader in that, you're going to be the first where they're going to say, oh, we need to find a position for this person because they got us to where we're at today. That's some protection on that. The other is, what's the offshoot? For your career today, what are the what's the next step? And start getting training and understanding in that space for that. If you're a court stenographer, maybe you want to be a paralegal, right? So what's that next step to elevate you out of what AI is going to do for you? So it's either a career move or if the opportunity is there, to embrace it and see and be the thought leader and the first one to make it work for what you do.
Yeah.
And it sounds scary, but if it's going to happen anyway, why not be the leader?
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. Why not be the leader? It's
important, really.
Yeah.
More than anything.
And I think HR is going to have a struggle, because what if my co-worker is an AI engine?
Yeah.
And what if AI makes a mistake? Who's to blame? Is it me? Or now am I in charge of the AI working for me, and I'm the one that makes the final decision?
Yeah. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Stuff to think about.
It is a lot of stuff to think about, and it's kind of a heavy pill to swallow is what I was about to say, but it's kind of a large pill to swallow, if you will. And it's a lot that's kind of coming at all of us so fast, but
Oh
it's
my
crazy
gosh.
because it's also just been in development for so long. So
Yeah.
as we wrap up here,
Mhm.
what would be your key takeaways of next steps that people should take,
Mhm.
and really the outward view that people should kind of have whenever thinking about AI?
Yeah. So I go back to automation. I would look at the automation tools that I have, talk to your IT folks, go, hey, do we have any automation tools that I can kind of play around with? Do we have any internal training? If I was in HR, I'd set up a training program. I would talk to us about, hey, what's the strategy we can have behind this? And then I would start to learn those tools and start doing some simple automations. And that's the start. I would also start using ChatGPT and see what that can do and how that works. Read an article on it. I mean, there's a lot out there, and very fundamentally how that all works, and just get a little deeper understanding. Because then now, all of a sudden, you're ahead of probably 99% of the people in your organization, which puts you in a much better spot. And then the other side of that was
That's such a great question. No,
Yeah.
I felt like it was a good question when I asked it, and then isn't that great? What's the other side of it? I'm like, I don't really know.
Yeah. But I think from overall, generally speaking, in a few years,
The outlook to have on AI.
yeah, the outlook to have for 3 years down the road, because we think that's a good sweet spot for any kind of strategy or forward thinking. And then where your business is going to head. So we have the HighBeam thing that's a 5-year business only oriented. So you know where your business is going to be, and we do this collectively within your organization, where your business is going to be. And then you have a 3-year digital strategy that aligns with your HighBeam 5-year business outlook. Where is your industry going to be? And I think this will all put you in a better position for determining the impact of AI, not only in your organization, but also in your market with your competition.
Love it. Thank you, Digital Dan.
I got to get used to that, but you're welcome.
I love it. Awesome. Okay. I think that's a wrap.
All right. We'll see you next
Over
time.
and out.
All right.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode of the HighBeam podcast with Digital Dan. We are so excited and looking forward to really the series that we have coming up for you and all of the hot topics that we'll dive into. For more thought-leading information, visit fpov.com/integrated-strategy. Again, I'll say it one more time because it's a lot. fpov.com/integrated-strategy. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.